Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I want to talk about like the plans again, just a little bit, but it's more of like I did a poll today on the channel to kind of see how people are feeling, because I know how I'm feeling, and as much as I love like PC gaming and stuff, man, I'm pretty new to this, man. I've only been doing this for a couple of years, pretty much since I started this channel has been since I've actually got into like PC gaming and started like really caring about it and stuff. But I want to make something clear so that you guys know, so that you know that like, okay, man, this is what kind of channel this is. This is, the understanding of things. This is how this guy looks at things, and why he judges things and sees things and does things the way he does, just so that you're clear, so that you guys understand. I'm that, and you might be able to relate to this, and that's kind of where I see this, is like you relate to me because we are basically kind of in the same boat, or at least in the same mindset when it comes to things. Now, I don't look at myself as a PC as a PC expert. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. I don't ever claim to be. I can only give you my feelings about the products that I buy and that I use. So I want you to understand that before you go any further with this channel, or if you're new here, that's me, man. Like, let me explain to you. So when I go to the internet, like you, and I watch like the CES event, seeing what they're announcing, and when it comes to like the PC stuff, or when like Xbox announces a console and they're sitting there and they're telling you all the specs and stuff like that. When I look at a GPU, I know you've heard me say this before, T-flops. Um, that's what I go off of. I go off T-flops and whatever the new stuff they have in there. Like, I listen to the marketing speak, and I make my decisions based off that. Like, I don't jump from channel to channel to channel to listen to what everybody else is saying, because as a content creator, and this is kind of the way I look at things, and this is the way that I want to run the channel, going forward. This has always kind of been at the, this has always kind of been the keystone of Frogboy X1 Gaming, so to speak. I watch the stuff. I let myself get hyped by the marketing, the PR, all of that stuff. I mean, obviously, when people come to the channel, they influence me just as much as I influence them. In terms of like, when I first started, everybody was like, Nvidia, Nvidia, Nvidia. And that's pretty much what every single person that gets on the internet hears right out of the gate is Nvidia, AMD's trash. Nvidia, AMD's trash. Now, to be fair, there are people in the community that were telling me that the AMD is okay, but I was listening to for every one AMD guy, there was 20 freaking Nvidia guys saying, "Yeah, man, you got to go Nvidia. It's the best." So I bought into the overhype and feeling like, "Oh yeah, this is a premium product or whatever." Like the Apple effect or whatever you call it. But when I'm watching, like, I just watched both I mean, I watched both the showcases, from Nvidia, and then I watched the AMD one, and I came away fairly hyped from both of them, to be completely honest with you. I mean, all of the new CPUs that they're putting out with the power of like a 1650, like a GeForce 1650, that's pretty cool. Like, that's all you need is a CPU, and you have an APU. You have a graphics processing unit in there that you can actually play video games with, and it's fairly decent. Like, you can actually use that and be able to play some video games and stuff on there. So when I'm thinking about, like all of the AMD stuff, when I'm thinking about all of the Nvidia stuff, And then I take a couple of days, to kind of adjust. I already knew right off the bat that, yeah, I'm buying that 7600 XT with 16 gigabytes because I think that is going to do good for the channel. I think that's going to actually bring in views, and people are going to be like, yeah, they want to see it. They're going to want to hear, like another gamer's point of view on it. And I think that's fair. And that's the way I come at like my content for this channel as a gamer, man, because that's what I am. That matters. The games will always matter more to me than the tech. And that's non-negotiable. Like, the games are always, the software is always going to be more important to me than the tech used to get there. Now, of course, I want good tech. Of course, like I want good solid tech that I can rely on, that I can use, that I can have fun, that delivers a good experience, a consistently good experience. That to me is important when it comes to hardware, and I hope that's what is important to you as well. Now, here's the thing this is like my big thing with Nvidia, okay? Because everything's just like all over the place, and nothing ever seems to have. It always has, to me, Nvidia just kind of always seems like it has just enough to be good enough to get you through a generation. And that's been my experience with the Nvidia products that I've bought in. Even with the 4070, man, like, this is a good card. Like, the 4070 is good. I don't regret buying it, and obviously I'm still going to use it when like these ray tracing games come out and other stuff. I don't regret it, but I do kind of wish that I would have went a little bit higher tier so that I could compare it to, like, to the 4070 Ti or something, and try to match that higher end experience that I have on the 7900 XT. Um, but I didn't. I opted to go for the mid range, which is the 7800, the 7800, the 4070 or whatever. And I mean, that's good. That's brought in a pretty decent amount of views, but they kind of dried up now. Like, the views for that kind of stuff is kind of dried up due to the fact that, like, there's new Nvidia cards out there. The 7800 XT now is essentially in a position that like, even at the price range, and even though that the 4070 Super is like pretty much like neck and neck with the 7800 XT, the the sentiment on the internet seems to be pretty much, no, go with the 4070 Super because you're going to get the better ray tracing or whatever. Even at 20% more power, even at 20% more power than what I have on the 4070 right now, that really doesn't equate to much. Like, if I'm sub 60 FPS already with ray tracing, I'm still going to be sub 60 FPS on a 4070 Super. Like, I'm still going to be sub 60 FPS because we're not talking like 59 frames on the 4070. We're talking more like 35 to 40 ish with ray tracing enabled, and that is sometimes with DLSS. Like, with DLSS, you're looking at, like, yeah, man, you need DLSS and then frame generation to push you past that. So you're still in a position with the 4070, and any game that the 7800 XT does really good with ray tracing, the 4070 does good on that too. It does. So there's not really much of a discrepancy in that part when it comes to ray tracing, because anything that runs good ray tracing on an AMD card is going to run just as good, if not better, on the RTX cards. It's just inevitable. But when they're designed for the Nvidia, and you have to use DLSS and you have to use frame generation to put you over a 60 frames per second experience, you're still not going to be there with the 4070 Super. You're still going to be probably sub 60 frames per second. It might be a little bit more. I mean, DLSS might work a little better on that card, given it's more power. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of just feel like you're still going to be in that sub 60, and then having to use, DLSS and frame gen. And most people are going to be all right with that. If you buy that card, you're going to be all right. But what I'm saying is, I feel like we're kind of in a position now to where the sentiment out there is AMD needs to drop their prices for these cards to still be competitive. And I've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, the 7800 XT just came out. I mean, it just came out, and this card is an absolute beast, and it does really well. I feel like it's a pretty dang consistent experience. It'll still have more VRAM than the 4070 Super, but how do I market? Not market, but how do I make content for that card when I know that everybody already recommends like the Nvidia GPUs just on the ray tracing alone. And that's kind of a tough pill to swallow because I know firsthand that these 4070 cards are pretty much bare minimum ray tracing experience, just good enough to maybe play some of these games type deal. Not really like a powerhouse in ray tracing, but just good enough to give you a taste, to make you want more, to make you be like, oh yeah, foaming at the mouth, like that looks so good, but I can barely use it. Like that's the kind of experience that I feel I get with the 4070, where I'm like, oh boy, I don't know about this. I don't know if I would choose this over a 7800 XT. But now, if the 4070 Super does have, the power that the 7800 XT has, I still kind of feel I'm almost willing to buy a 4070 Super just to put my theory to test. Like, I'm almost willing to do that, but like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm almost willing to do it, but at the same time, like, I'm almost like, dang, dude, you've already been screwed over so many times by Nvidia. Is it really worth doing that? And, a pretty big portion of me says yes, but I'm also at that point where I would just as soon spend a couple of hundred extra dollars and get the 70 Ti Super. So if I decide to get one, I'll probably just show up with a video with it in my hands. I'm not saying that I'm gonna buy one. Like I really want to stick to my guns and be like, no, dude, I'm only buying one Nvidia GPU a generation. But I feel like the content that I had planned for the whole year for these GPUs has just been uprooted by Nvidia, and that sucks. Like I kind of just feel like the content that I wanted to make has just been ruined. So I feel like if I do anything, it would probably be better to just buy the 4070 Ti Super and compare that to my 7900 XT and just finish this generation out. And see, that's why I was asking you guys for input, and that's why I'm asking you guys for suggestions, because I don't have a problem going out and buying a 4070 Super Ti. Like, I don't. Like, it is what it is. I don't hate Nvidia. I'm definitely willing to cover their products and be fair with them. But at the same time, like, I'm an AMD fan. I prefer the AMD experience. And I am biased towards that. And that's, I'm biased to a point where it's like, look, man, I like the AMD experience, so I will always recommend that over the Nvidia experience. But there are things that Nvidia has that the AMD doesn't have, and there are things that AMD has that Nvidia, and so it's like one of those things where it's like, man, you really do. When it comes to PC, man, this is probably the most frustrating but rewarding experience in gaming that you can get. Especially because there are so many different combinations of things that you can get. And like when I cover the 7600 XT, yeah, like right now you can get a 6700 XT for the same price. You can do that, and that is a more powerful card. And when I get the card and I review it, and we're going over it and we're looking at the specs and we're looking at how it performs and stuff like that, you'll be able to see that and see what that actually does. And I'll show you, because I'm not going to go buy a 6700 XT. The only reason you would do that is because you need that extra power. I have a 7900 XT. I don't need that extra power. The whole reason for buying a 7600 XT is to review that on the channel, to make content for it, to kind of give you an idea of how the AMD stack, how the AMD stack swings across the board, you know, and give you my AM like give you my opinion from a consumer that actually appreciates what the AMD experience is. And that's the thing, like I actually appreciate and I absolutely like getting on the AMD, playing with the AMD software, running my games on it, creating my content using AMD. Like I love this experience. This user experience to me is more valuable than a little bit of ray tracing in a few games. That to me is more valuable to me, and I still believe that the prices that AMD has for their GPUs are warranted, are more than fair, and I do believe that the AMD 7900 XTX provides more than enough power, sustainability, experience to be able to get that. And I think I've seen them as low as $900 now. Like they've come down like $100. And I still believe that I don't think AMD really needs to go out of their way to drop that price. But yeah, anybody that's already like, yeah, I'm getting a freaking 4080 Super, good luck, man. I'm pretty sure the scalpers are going to get those. So knowing, and this is my thing, man, like AMD, don't do it. The scalpers are going to get all of them 4080 Supers, and they're going to rip people off blind for it. And another year later, the freaking 5070s are going to be more powerful than the 4080, and they're going to be cheaper. Don't do it, AMD. There's no reason for you to lower your prices because you can readily buy AMD GPUs without having to worry about scalpers. You don't have to worry about the scalpers. You can literally buy these cards and put them in your PC without all of that. You don't have to get ripped off to buy an AMD card. And that's important. Like you are not getting, especially if you're paying a scalper for an Nvidia card, you are not getting what you deserve. You're just not. And buying that 3080 10 gig, I paid MSRP for mine. So I mean, it wasn't a big deal. Like I paid MSRP for it, and at first it was fine. Like I didn't have a problem with it. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And then like when things started, you know, falling apart and not working to the way I would expect them to do, because I'm like, wow, dude, I've only had this for a few months, and now I can't do this. And that's, like I said earlier, it's important to me when it comes to being able to have a consistent experience. And when I talk about consistency, I mean like the majority of my games run at a similar, like experience. And maybe there's like that odd one or two that are like really high quality visuals and really high quality, whatever that might drop it down a little bit. That's what I mean for a consistent experience. But the Nvidia experience for me was so up and down that I was like, wow, this sucks. It seemed like every new game that was coming out was just taking a nosedive in the experience that I already had, that I was already getting. I was already like, whoa, man, I was way up here, and now I'm way down here. This sucks. Like, this sucks. And yeah, so I moved over to AMD, and I haven't had that moment yet with AMD. And it is the first of the generation, so obviously these cards should continue running good, but we will. See, that's the beauty of this, is I will be checking this toward the end of the generation to see if that experience is similar to the way the RTX 30 series kind of fell off for me. If the AMD series falls off like that, then we'll be talking about that, and we'll like really dig into that and find out, that like, okay, clearly this is I guess what I'm trying to say, man, is I'm a consumer. That's the way I'm going to cover these products. I look at the teraflops and all of that stuff, and I try to make my decisions based on that. And like, obviously I haven't had like really good experience, but my failures are educational. You know what I mean? Like, my failures and what I do is educational. It provides an educational stream of content for you to be able to watch, and for you to be able to, maybe look at what I did and maybe, choose a different path or something. The biggest thing is I'm not ready to just accept the mainstream PC thinking. I'm not ready because of the experience that I've had so far already. I'm not ready to just accept that because I always see a lot of backtracking. I always see a lot of downplaying. I always see a lot of, shilling, whatever it is mixed into all of this content that I'm not ready to just accept things at face value. Because in my honest opinion, our GPUs that we have right now, like we shouldn't even really have to be buying new GPUs until these developers start actually changing, their engines and changing the way they build the games and, developing new pipelines for how these games are going to operate, stuff like that. I don't think we're really at a position to where we need 4090 power to run a game at 4K. You don't. Obviously, my 7900 XT runs games at 4K 60. My 7800 XT runs games at 4K 60. So I mean, we're obviously not there. But yeah, like if you want like these new ray tracing features that are coming to Nvidia, you got to remember that those features are designed and specifically utilize hardware on the Nvidia GPUs. There are other games out there that use ray tracing that looks just as good as any of those ones, and it runs amazing on the AMD GPUs. So I will go through all of my I'm kind of planning that. I want to go through everything on the 7900 XT this weekend. I want to make like a video checking out like the ray tracing performance for a bunch of games. I got some Resident Evil 4, Metro Exodus, pretty much everything. I got the Guardians of the Galaxy downloaded. All of these games, I got everything all downloaded and ready to go so that I can just go through each one and kind of put together a nice little video of showing you just how good AMD runs ray tracing. And then I'll take out my 7900 XT, and then I'll throw in the 7800 XT, and then I'll rerun those on that card. And then if I have enough time this weekend, maybe I'll throw the 4070 back in there and run all those same games as well on there. Or maybe I'll just pull out the 7900 XT and do the 7800 XT and the 4070. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow when I get home and kind of get situated and get into my like little content making thing for the weekend. I'll try to put something together that's pretty cool and informative for you guys so that you guys can see. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of at a crossroads of how I'm gonna do this content because I've already invested in the 7800 XT. I've already invested in the 4070. And by the way, both of those cards pretty much dang near, those 2 months of ad revenue pretty much paid off, both of those cards. I made like 150 or 515 on the month I bought the Nvidia card. So, I mean, it is essentially, I mean, like almost like the 7900 XT was a little bit off. The 40, I mean, the closest one to paying itself off was the 7800 XT. That one was just shy of like a few bucks. You get what I mean? Like it was pretty decent. So if I can do that with like the 3060 or whatever, or the 7600 XT, make enough to pay that off, and then I will consider doing the 4070 Ti Super. Because if I'm gonna run anything together, it might as well just be the 7900 and that as well. So I don't know, guys. I keep flip flopping and changing my mind. Like I said, I'm a consumer just like you. I want to be able to buy the best product that's going to bring in it's going to grow the community. That's going to allow me to make enough money to continue to invest in the channel. Those are the things that I'm looking for right now, guys. Like those are the things that I'm trying to do. And I mean, we've got some console stuff coming up. Obviously, we're going to have, the showcase from Xbox coming up soon. We're going to be having, Pal World coming out. We'll be covering that on Xbox and PC. We're going to be having The Last of Us 2 upgrade remaster that we're going to be playing on there. Like, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that it's just not going to always be PC. There'll be console back. There'll be some more carnivore, all of that stuff. Like I said, Thursday nights you can catch me on 4GQ, 4GQ TV, talking about games and whatever. So it would be nice if you guys stopped by there and hung out with us for a little while. But yeah, for the most part, that's pretty much what I'm thinking, and I hope that you guys are like with me and maybe understand that, because I'm just like you. I really am just like you. I'm I'm a consumer. I buy this stuff. I feel, the same irritation and pain and struggles and stuff that you guys feel when I buy something and I feel like I got ripped off. I don't necessarily feel like I got ripped off with the 4070 this time though, but yeah, it does kind of suck that the new one's a little bit better. But the biggest reason I don't feel ripped off is because I have no desire to buy a 4070 Super. Uh, I'm just gonna do like a 4070 Ti Super, or maybe even dude. Honestly, when I go to pick that up, if there's a 4080 there and I only have to pay MSRP and it's a Founders Edition card, I'd probably just get that. But I don't know. I think those ones are going to be scalped pretty hard, so I will just get the 4070 Super, 4070 Ti Super. All right, whatever. It is what it is, but yeah, dude, I definitely love the AMD experience far more than the Nvidia one. I do. I just think it's a better experience, guys. I like it a lot more. And that's cool. Like, I'm allowed to have preferences, and even, let's put it this way, like my 7900 XT experience is good enough for me. It's good enough for me to be happy with the way the games perform. I'm getting way better than I would have ever got on any of my consoles. So in the short term, like, that's good. Like, that to me, that's good. I'm getting, 4K a 60 experience on these games, and that to me is good. And I've got, the room to play around with it a little bit and make it go even higher or go even lower, whatever. I have that ability, and that's fine. That's why I don't really freak out too much, as long as my experience, continues to stay better than what, I would get on the console. I'm usually generally pretty happy. I'm perfectly okay with that. So yeah, it'd be pretty hard for Nvidia to beat the AMD experience in my book. Just because I really do like and appreciate the AMD experience more. So, all right, my friends, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one.